Hi, my name is Sophie Shukin. I'm one of the naturalists at Lake Catherine Nature Center, and welcome back to another episode of Come Back to Nature.
Hi Sophie, how you doing?
I'm good. I was just taking a walk on this beautiful day, and I found Gareth here digging a big hole. And so I was just thought I'd come and see what he was up to today.
Well, I'm glad you could pop by. We're actually digging a hole for a tree, and it actually happens to be Arbor Day today, so it seems like a pretty fitting time to plant a tree. What we've got here is we have a white oak. A white oak is really important. It's from this area. It's really kind of cool. It supports lots of other pollinator species as well. So it's not quite as important as, say, a bur oak, which supports up to 500 species as a keystone species, but it's pretty much up there. And white oaks tend to like slightly drier conditions, not too waterlogged, but we're going to show actually how you plant white oak properly.
Sounds good, and now probably is the right time to plant, right? What time of year do we usually plant trees?
For us, spring is perfect. You can pretty much plant any time of year, but if you don't have time to water something or go out and care for it, spring is optimum. It can get the root growth going. The ground is still wet, which is perfect. It means that we can get those roots established before like the drier days of summer kick in.
All right, sounds good. So let's watch him dig a hole.
All right.
All right, so what are you up to now?
Well, Sophie, I'm actually trying to figure out how deep I want to plant the tree and how wide. So I actually just tend to use a shovel fairly simply. I look for the collar of the tree and then kind of take my shovel, put my hand down, and then I go over to the hole and then see what it's like. So when I look at this, it's probably a little bit too deep. You don't want to plant your tree too deep. If you plant your tree too deep, it has a potential for earth to fill in, kind of bury it, and then this can rot underneath it, and you don't want that. So I'm going to add a little bit of soil. And so also the depth of the hole is important, but also the width of the hole is important. So again, using my shovel, no tape measures or anything like that. Simply just put it across, see how wide it is. And I want to make sure it's wider than the things. You want the roots to be able to grow out a little bit. So it's doing pretty good. So my hand is right here. So it's got a little bit, some people might say it needs to be carved out a little bit more. So I'm going to shave a little bit out a little bit. So now we're getting into the good stuff. Now we've opened up the root bag and we want to see all the roots that are going to come out. And I try to take as much of the material off as possible. Sometimes it seems like you can be being pretty violent with it, but you kind of got to kind of release it so the roots can go in. It's kind of teasing it out anyway. You want to tease the roots. So I'm fine with trimming a few things back here as we go.
So cutting some of the roots are fine?
Yes, to a certain degree. You also want to try and keep the root ball, which is all this, together as best you can. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, now we've got a nice kind of things ready. You can tease it a little bit, so that just kind of activates the roots. Problem with some of the roots sometimes is if they can wrap around themselves. So if you don't tease them out a little bit, they can just grow around, stay in the ball itself, and then it can actually eventually constrict the tree itself, and it's not going out. You want it to get established into the soil around it. So we're looking good. We're almost ready to plant this thing. All right, Sophie, so the tree is actually in the hole now. I'm actually pretty happy with this. The reason why is, you see the collar of the tree, this is where it flares out. The tree should have flares. You see a lot of the times, a lot of people will plant this too deep, or they'll mulch up around the side of it. Again, that causes collar rot, and you don't want that. You want to see that thing exposed. And it is basically at grade, so it's going to flare out nicely. So what we'll do is we might tease it a little bit now it's in the hole, to get the roots a little bit kind of activated, but then I'll start packing in that soil around it to kind of get that good root to soil contact, which is what I'm going to do next.
All right, so are we all done?
Basically, so there's a couple of things you could do a little bit more. we would put a little bit of mulch around this, and that basically the only reason you mulch a tree is to keep the kind of the roots protected. There is no other reason. A lot of times people aesthetically do it, and like I said, mentioned earlier, they'll pile up the mulch. Terrible things to do. You're not trying to mulch the tree, you're trying to mulch the roots. And you start off with very like a low level here, and you can go out to about an inch thick wherever the drip line is. Drip line is the outside edge of the tree. So if you want to do that, you can, and it helps protect kind of the roots. And then after the tree is established, you know, it's growing pretty well, you may not have to do anything else. The ground's nice and moist. A lot of people, if you can water it in, that's great. We're lucky because we've got pretty damp soil right now. We'll give it a little bit of water, a touch of mulch, and it should be good, hopefully, for the summer. If we have some drought conditions over the summer, you might have to come back and give it a little bit of extra water. But other than that, hopefully it'll be able to kind of get going. So it's a brilliant tree, and it's Arbor Day. And if you can plant like one tree in your garden, oaks are some of the best trees as well. They're best for wildlife. They're best for like kind of like all the warblers that come through and all that kind of good stuff. So consider planting an oak tree in your garden if you can.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that tutorial on how to plant a tree, and we'll hope to see you next time on Come Back to Nature.